Hi, I'm Dr Emma Craythorne, a consultant dermatologist, and you're listening to the After Hours Skin Clinic. This is the late night laid back podcast where we dive into all things skin. In these bite-sized mini episodes, I'm going to share everything you need to know about a single question that I've been asked outside my clinic. In this episode, we're talking about how to boost your collagen. So what exactly is collagen and why is it important? Well, let's start with the very basics of this. Collagen is the most abundant protein in our body, and it's essential for maintaining the structure of the skin, our hair, our nails, and even our joints. We probably want to think about collagen as a very strong protein, and it's a bit like a scaffold structure, and it's a thing that keeps everything firm. And I probably think a little bit back to my childhood days whenever I used to look at my grandmother in the mirror and see her pointing out these lines and wrinkles that she had in her face. She was Irish and she spent a lot of her time growing up in Australia and spending a lot of her time there. So her lines were particularly marked and coarse. And I always used to wonder, why did that happen? The reason is that over time, our collagen starts to deplete. So whenever our structure starts to fall apart a little bit and we get these weaknesses appear, well, that's when those lines and crevices appear on our face that we call wrinkles. The problem occurs usually around about our mid-20s, whenever our body's natural collagen really just begins to slow down. And then actually by the time that you get to your 40s, you're probably losing about 1% of the collagen a year. And for women, this is actually even slightly more bad news because this happens more quickly than our male counterparts, and particularly in that perimenopausal period coming up to the time of menopause. But it's not all bad news. And part of the question that I was asked was, well, how do you maintain it? And what can we do to protect what we have? And can we even actually make any more? So we make collagen. Yeah, that's true. But we also break down our collagen. And so we think about what is breaking down the collagen. And some of these things we can actually control. Others, not so much. What can we control? Well, we can't control the fact that we are aging. We don't really want to stop aging. The alternative is probably not that attractive. So that process can carry on quite happily. But the other things that we can take a little bit of control of are things like, well, perhaps something my grandmother didn't actually do, and that's protecting our skin from ultraviolet radiation. And there's a particular type of ultraviolet radiation called UVA. UVA is probably less concerned with the cancer-causing rays, but actually it's the UVA rays are these ones that penetrate deeper down into the skin, and they cause damage to those collagen and elastin fibres, and actually even to the little cells that are responsible for making it. And whenever that happens over a period of time, we then break down our collagen, but also even worse than that, these UVA rays tell our enzymes to break down even more collagen and also tell our cells to stop making quite as much collagen. So UV is particularly important. And there's some very amazing twin studies that you can look up online to see twins, identical twins who have protected from UV and who haven't protected from UV. And in fact, I could probably see this in my own grandmother where she had her fringe and her skin underneath her fringe, which she'd had for many years, this fringe, it was very well protected from UV and it wasn't quite as wrinkled as the rest of the face. And then finally, lifestyle factors. These play a huge role. So the worst thing that we can do for our skin's collagen is to smoke. So that's a very easy thing if you're a non-smoker and a slightly more difficult thing if you're a smoker, but certainly the thing that I would suggest that you would stop doing in order to protect your collagen. Most of us as dermatologists can look at a patient's skin and we don't even need to ask them, are you a smoker? We can see by the way the skin is made. Excess sugar consumption is also an issue because of how we process that sugar. It leads to a lot of oxidative stress, and it's that reason our collagen can break down more easily. As well as things like this, our hormones have an impacted role, our sleep levels have an impacted role, and anything that really increases the oxidative stress within our body, within our skin, can have a role in breaking down collagen. It really does take us right back to those things that we were taught to do probably as a child, is to eat a good, healthy plate of colourful food, try and not eat much sugar and have a good night's sleep. And whatever you do, don't smoke any cigarettes because that's a real baddie. And of course, wearing your sunscreen. Let's move on to what potentially we might be able to do to try and boost the collagen levels within our skin. And there is one drug that has been studied for many decades now and actually has an FDA approval for being able to treat these wrinkles that are as a consequence of photo damage or as a consequence of the collagen being broken down. And that is the group of medicines or molecules called retinoids. These are all vitamin A derivatives, and they come in forms that are available over the counter in the form of retinol and retinal, and sometimes you might see things like bakuchiol or retinaldehyde. And they're really trying to behave in a way that's extrapolated from these hugely extensively studied molecules called retinoic acid. And it's actually the retinoic acid that has multiple large randomized control trials to show that it has an effect on being able to tell the fibroblasts to make more collagen. The ones that are available over the counter don't really have quite as robust data to do that. And we know from how they're made that they're just never going to be quite as strong as a prescription medicine called retinoic acid. And ultimately, this medicine is responsible for improving the gene transcription of making collagen and ultimately leading to a much smoother skin that typically has a better tone. Another molecule that we think of whenever it comes to boosting collagen is vitamin C. And vitamin C is an incredibly powerful antioxidant, and all forms of vitamin C are really not created equally. And the evidence for use of vitamin C comes from this vitamin C being in a particular form, and that form is L-ascorbic acid. So if it's L-ascorbic acid, and if it's in a percentage between about 10 and 20%, and it usually has to be stored in a dark bottle, come in the form of a serum, and be, in a very low pH solution, then we know that this can be helpful in improving the collagen production within the skin. And that, interestingly, is in skin that is also being protected from the sun. So we mean just giving more collagen to skin that has just undergone the aging process, and we can boost it that way. You get even more of a positive effect on the skin in skin that has been photo damaged. The next group of molecules to look out for in your skincare is something called peptides. Peptides are groups of amino acids linked together, and it's really probably an emerging era within topical skincare. But what they can do is they can switch on and switch off different processes within the skin. So some of them are responsible for making the skin less inflamed or less red. Some of them are responsible for making the skin less sensitive. But there are ones that are particularly shown to improve collagen stimulation within the skin. If we think about these molecules, the retinoids, vitamin C and peptides, what has the most evidence? Well, undoubtedly, what has the most evidence is the drug retinoic acid. There are so many multiple randomized control trials. The evidence has been available for approximately 40 years and is shown to occur not just in cells, but also in real humans, has been shown in biopsy studies, so actually looking at the skin to see the collagen being produced. The next level of evidence comes down to the vitamin C and those parameters I talked about. And then lastly is the peptides. This is emerging data, so the evidence for it's not quite as good. But we're seeing that this is likely to be an area where collagen potentially has a role in being stimulated. One of the questions that comes up again and again is, can I just have collagen supplements and that's going to boost my own collagen? Or can I have bone broth to drink every day and my collagen levels are going to suddenly be very high? Well, what's interesting is when I went to one of the museums of surgery and we looked back through the logbooks of the surgeons from 400 years ago, and after a very big surgical procedure of the face, people would be recommended to drink bone broth. And the idea at that time was that you're going to be able to help boost the collagen and help wound healing. But it wasn't particularly effective then, and it's actually not that particularly effective now. So we do have to think what the evidence is for these collagen supplements. What they're suggesting is that you can just take some collagen, and by some very clever effect, that collagen will just go to the skin and improve the skin elasticity and reduce wrinkles there. Well, as I said to you, collagen is the most abundant protein in our body, so it could go anywhere in the body. So although some of these studies have really kind of demonstrated that collagen can enhance some skin qualities like elasticity and hydration, we know that protein is good for our skin. And in fact, having a lot of protein will make our skin pretty hydrated and bouncy and youthful. But really, the studies that go alongside these supplements, they don't really have the evidence so far to support the claims that this collagen is going directly to our skin and is improving our skin and in getting rid of wrinkles. The evidence really is just not there with that. What happens if you come into a dermatology clinic? What are those professional treatments that somebody might be able to give you or treat your skin with that you might not be able to do just at home? There are laser resurfacing or energy-based devices where the skin is either heated up with a specific wavelength of light, or the skin is ablated, in other words, vaporized with a specific wavelength of light. And this is a very controlled damage to the skin. And if you just damage the skin just enough with the laser, then you get the wound healing response. And it's that wound healing response that's responsible for more collagen being made. Other treatments that can sometimes be helpful and you might see are things like microneedling. And that works in a not too dissimilar way to the laser, except it doesn't involve a laser at all. It involves tiny little needles being injected into the skin. These can sometimes come in the form of a roller, which is not my preferred option because I think rolling devices can sometimes leave little scuffs or marks on the skin, or it can come in the form of stamps where the needles are stamped into the skin. And again, like lasers, you've created this little micro injury, and this triggers the healing response. And again, it's that healing response that is responsible for making more collagen. So the real key here is protecting the collagen that you have. And you will protect that by ensuring that the basics are in place and you sleep well, you eat well, and you protect your skin well from ultraviolet radiation, and it's particularly from the UVA. So your SPF is essential and non-negotiable to protect the collagen that you have. The top 3 things that we have that can actually boost the collagen levels that you have are, number 1, topical retinoids, and particularly retinoic acid. That's where most of this data and evidence lies. Next is the use of vitamin C with the correct parameters. And then ultimately coming into helping us over the years to come is probably peptides. Or if you're visiting a healthcare professional that specialises in this, you might want to talk about energy-based devices that can boost collagen, or in fact the use of microneedling. Okay, that's it from me this time. I hope that helps. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our twice weekly episodes when they drop. And I'll see you next time on the After Hours Skin Clinic.